Hi-ho everyone, welcome to Camp Ever After, where we sit around the campfire and have cozy Disney conversations. My name is Joey, I'm a Castle Explorers travel advisor, and you can find me anywhere online at People Call Me Joey. Today we're going to be talking to the content creator Ben Stanley, but before he joins us around the campfire, please make sure you go ahead and give this podcast a review, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and give it a like, comment, share it out, give me a subscribe, do all the things. Without further ado, let's welcome in Ben Stanley. Please pull up a chair. How are you doing on this fine evening?
Hello, I am doing great.
That is fantastic. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what makes Ben Ben?
So my name is Ben Stanley. I'm an artist and a content creator. I have been making artwork for about 3.5 years related to movies. I essentially do a style where I will write out movie scripts, and this has sort of led to me making content that is discussing movies, and basically my internet content is a combination of my artwork and the movies that are connected to it. So I do a lot of analysis of the various franchises that appeal to me. I'm a pretty big fan of Pixar and have been most of my life, and yeah, I focus a lot on the artwork that I do, and it's been something that I've been really enjoying for the past couple of years. So that's sort of how I've made a name for myself and my online presence for the past couple of years.
Yeah, so you said that you been a fan of Pixar your whole life. So I believe you turned 30 this year because you're doing your top 30 movies because you're turning 30, right?
Yes.
So I also turned 30 this year. So we both aged with Pixar. Pixar debuted the same year we were both born.
Yes, I was 6 weeks old when Toy Story hit theaters.
I don't even know when Pixar. When did Toy Story come out?
Thanksgiving of 95, so
okay,
I don't remember the exact November of 95. I don't know the exact day, but
so I was 2 months old. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything else, what is your go-to campfire snack and drink?
So let's see, drink. I've never even thought of a campfire drink. I mean, just water's the only answer I can think of for that. But in terms of a campfire snack, I really like either hot dogs or Spam.
Spam.
You take croissant dough and you wrap that around the hot dog or the Spam, and you cook that over the fire.
Wow. All right. I've never heard of that.
That was, I mean, it's basically just pigs in a blanket, just campfire style. But that was a pretty, that was my meal of choice in Boy Scouts.
Heck yeah. Wow, I'm going to have to try that next time. So you mentioned that you are a movie content creator who happens to love Disney and Pixar.
Yes.
But before I get into anything else, you may be a rare guest on the show. So I have to ask, do you consider yourself a Disney adult?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I think obviously there's maybe a bit of what's the word for condescension that comes with the label Disney adult.
Right.
So like, I'm not the sort of hardcore fan that blindly accepts everything that Disney puts out. Like, but generally speaking, like, I'm a fan of most of the work that they have done, and it's a studio that I appreciate the work that they've done. I appreciate a lot of their history. That doesn't mean that I love everything they make. That doesn't mean that I love every person who works for them, and that definitely does not mean that I love the corporation that runs it. But in terms of the actual content and the stories that come from it, I'm definitely a big fan.
Yeah, I always say whenever, because I cover the Disney news every single day, and whenever they do something like money hungry or evil, I always say I love Disney. I hate corporate Disney.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, were you a fan when you were a kid? I imagine so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we grew up with the, clamshell VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm the youngest of 9 kids, actually.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
And so we had, all the Renaissance films. My parents grew up with like the Golden Age films. I remember my mom every year. Everyone in my family has black hair, and my mom always dressed up as Snow White every year for Halloween because she had like the black bobbed hair. And so I remember my dad told me recently he has a distinct memory of when he took my oldest brother to see Little Mermaid, and he like was blown away. He's like, finally they're good again. Like, he was so excited because that was the beginning of the Renaissance, and so like he remembers like what it was like to see this first crop of new movies coming out and seeing the change that made. So like my family was like totally on board with just consuming everything that Disney was putting out in the 80s and 90s. And, obviously I was along with that.
Right. So what was your favorite movie growing up?
I would say Aladdin. Aladdin and Lion King. I always say that, like, I mostly have brothers. I only have 2 sisters, and I'm not very close with them. And so we didn't have a lot of the Disney princess movies. So we watched like Aladdin and Lion King a lot, and like the more male-centered ones.
Right.
And you got to appreciate the the genie, and I as I was reviewing it for my my top 30 recently, I realized that I think what I realized is up to that point, Aladdin I think might have been the best written male character in a Disney film. Like after that you had Hercules and Tarzan, and there was others that came after, but I think up until that point there hadn't been like a male protagonist that had any kind of depth. Maybe Beast. I think Beast was pretty well written, but
yeah.
So I think that's why I really like that film. So I think growing up that might have been my favorite, but I definitely Lion King was also a favorite in our household.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lion King, anybody our age, Lion King is a whole world.
Exactly, yeah.
So when did you discover your passion for movies?
So it's kind of interesting. Like, the answer is actually kind of late. I really didn't get into movies to like a maybe obsessive degree until after I met my wife. I was really, really heavily into musical theater as a kid. Like for almost my entire childhood, that's what I thought I was going to be doing. And so, like I didn't, other than Disney and Pixar films, I didn't really watch movies as a kid or teenager. And so there are a lot of like really classic films, or just like films that are so like permeated in pop culture that I just missed out on until I met my wife. She was like, "You've never seen Jurassic Park? You've never seen Lord of the Rings or Indiana Jones?" Like there were so many of these things that, to this day there are still things like, "You've never seen Big Fat Greek Wedding?" Like, and so and she grew up and still does watch movies all the time. So that was sort of she opened my eyes a lot to a lot of it. But I think it was during the pandemic and joining TikTok where I was getting into more of the online discussion. I think maybe my gateway to that was probably Marvel. I wasn't into the Marvel fandom until I think 2018. It was between Infinity War and Endgame. That was when I got into Marvel. But actually sort of becoming a quote-unquote cinephile was really once I joined TikTok.
That makes sense. Yeah, I wasn't a full blown Disney adult until I started doing TikToks and went to Disney World for the first time 3-4 years ago. So I get it. And Lord of the Rings, it's funny. Me and my cousin used to watch it all the time, but he was only interested in the fight scenes, so he would just skip to the fight scenes. So that's all I've ever seen because I've just never gone back to watch it.
Fair enough.
In your intro, your introduction to yourself, you mentioned that you started making your art, and that's what made you start making content. Is that how you started making content for movies? Was because you started making art for the movies?
Yeah, it kind of happened at the same time. I was making some stuff about, like, the first poster I ever made that I shared online was for Encanto. Because it was at the very beginning of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when Encanto was everywhere. So I did my first poster for a musical that my wife and I really love. And I wasn't really ready to publish that one, but I thought if I wanted to make something of this, let me do it for a film that everyone's talking about right now. So I did Encanto. And then for various reasons, I lived in a small town at the time, so I didn't have a way of at that time I was doing it with pen and paper, so I didn't have a way of scanning and reproducing it. But I was engaging in a lot of the discourse of Encanto at the time, so that was sort of the first film that I was engaging in online conversations with on TikTok, and then but that was also when Spider-Man No Way Home had come out at the end of 2021. So that was my next poster, and that was the first one that I shared on TikTok. And that one, I wouldn't say it went viral, but it certainly got more views than anything else I'd ever made. And that was really what got me started with my No Way Home poster.
So your art is very unique. It's quite incredible. You take the scripts. I don't know if it's for everything, but what I've seen is you take the scripts of the movies that you're doing, and you make a picture from that movie using the words from the movie. And I think that's incredible. How'd you come up with that?
So I didn't invent this art style by any means. There are half a dozen other artists who have done the same thing. I often credit an artist named Mike Matola as the guy who, I don't know if he actually came up with it, but he's certainly the one who pioneered it on the internet anyway. But basically, the story I like to tell is my wife and I moved into an apartment in the place in Virginia we were living in, and we had this big blank wall behind our TV, and we were like, let's fill that with movie merchandise. So we went on to Etsy, looking for posters and stuff, and I saw this one. I saw these handwritten script posters, and I'd seen them before. I know I saw one before for Endgame, and I thought, I could probably figure out how to do that. So I did that musical, that Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat was the musical, and I did that because I'm like, I feel like you might get sick of the movie if you do that. So I did a musical that I already had memorized, just to see what it would be like, and it kind of went from there. So once I sort of got the hang of it and figured out what to do, it was after I did the Encanto one at Spider-Man No Way Home when I started doing it digitally, and that sort of opened up a lot of new techniques and stuff that helped me be more versatile and go from there. So all the other artists who do the same stuff, we all do it slightly differently. We all take a different approach to it, because some of them, they literally just take a pen and paper and a ruler and just write the whole thing, and they'll just sometimes it takes them 5 or 6 times to get it right to fit the page correctly, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. That would stress me out. I do it digitally, where I'll have the transcript and I'll make a template so I have it spaced out, so I have some ideas how tall the letters need to be, and go off of that. But even that's not exact, because I want it to be handwritten. So everyone takes a different approach to it. We all have different styles, and all of us have we support one another. We all, none of us compete in any way. Like, I've become friends with a lot of these other artists, so that was, yeah, that's kind of where I've been at, and I honestly didn't think that I would still be here, almost 4 years later, and I've done over 100 at this point. I've been selling at live conventions. It's just something I didn't think would grow into what it has been.
Yeah, that's great. Real quick, before I forget again, because you mentioned musicals again, I wanted to ask you what your favorite musical is.
My favorite musical is this show called The Fantastics. I say it's not very popular, but it is the longest running musical of all time. It ran off Broadway for over 40 years.
Wow.
But it's not like as mainstream because it's it's like a small cast of like 7 people. And it's this sort of love story, but it's this very like small scale theatery show, and it's very like audience participation, and they're telling you the story. Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I just really love that show. It tells the story in such an intimate way. I was in the show in college. Yeah, I just really love that one. But Joseph is another one that I've loved for most of my life.
Nice. I'm not a big Broadway person. I don't even know if I've seen Christmas Carol. I saw that on a school field trip long ago. But what's your favorite Disney Broadway?
Ooh, I frequently cite the stage version of Beauty and the Beast as one of the best film to stage adaptations, because so often when popular movies are translated to the stage, they change a lot, or they either change it to a distracting degree, or it's so similar that like, what is the point? With Beauty and the Beast, the script is mostly the same, but the experience is very different because you have these characters, these people in these giant costumes. Mm-hmm. They sort of add this plot line where the enchanted objects are slowly, progressively being changed. So the reason that Cogsworth and Lumiere are as tall as Belle is because they're slowly turning into the objects. So like over the course of the show, they become stiffer, and like as the spell is going on, they're going to become the objects more. But there's so many like over the top theatrics that makes it for a different experience. But I guess just thinking more broadly, the Lion King live show is absolutely spectacular. If you've seen clips of that, it's this magnificent show that's been running on Broadway forever. And I saw it when I was like 8, I think. I really wish I could see it again. Because the entire thing is basically, well, I wouldn't say the entire thing, but the whole thing is done with like these very stylistic puppets.
Right.
But they really, really lean into the African aesthetic. Mm-hmm. And some of the songs that they add are literally African spirituals. Most of the cast is required to be black. Like they really lean heavily into that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I really enjoy. So that's another one where it's like the script and the story are pretty much the same, but they make it a completely different experience. And for the same reason is why I really enjoy Finding Nemo the musical, which is exclusive to Animal Kingdom in Disney World. I have yet to see it live. I've seen several recordings of it, but every character is puppeted, and but the actors are also dressed like what you would imagine human versions of characters to look like. So, like Dory is wearing like overalls and has crazy hair and stuff, but she's also puppeting a Dory puppet. So like you could either look at the puppet that looks like the cartoon, or you could look at the actress. And but then you also have these giant puppets that look like the sharks and that look like Trush and all this. And they got the Robert and Kristen Lopez to do the songs for it. They're completely original songs for that one, and I really love the way that they pulled that one off. So one of my bucket list items is to get down to Disney World so I can see that one.
Yeah, I've only seen the Lion King show there. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, so if you may have saw, I did a video recently about the Toy Story the musical that ran on the cruise line, and it was not very well received, and I tried to do like an analysis. I'm like, why did Finding Nemo turn out so good, but Toy Story did not? And my conclusion was that the Toy Story the musical didn't have the sort of grandiose theatrics that like you would have with Beauty and the Beast, and it didn't do something different to make it a different experience the way that Lion King or Finding Nemo did. So you're basically just kind of watching a worse version of the movie. So if you're going to make a Disney film into a theatrical production, you need to make it so you need to justify making it into a live show.
Yeah, they are doing a Hercules on one of the newest cruise ships.
I believe so, yeah.
That should be cool.
And there have been various Hercules shows over the years.
You also mentioned conventions. How was that? I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody who regularly goes to conventions, so what's that process like?
Yeah, I had never been to one before I was a vendor at one. Yeah, so that's interesting. So at these big fan conventions, these, Comic-Con-like events, there's generally a section of the convention called Artist Alley that is just consisting of booths of amateur or up-and-coming artists like me selling their artwork. And so my first booth was at Fan Expo Chicago back in 2023, and at these bigger events, they generally will have a lot of celebrity movie stars and comic writers and voice actors and all these other people there. So the cast of Back to the Future was going to be there. So I made a Back to the Future poster to sell that people could get signed.
Oh, that's smart.
So, and that turned out to be a success. It wasn't. I didn't get rich off of it. I think I barely broke even with how much I had to pay to buy a huge display and all the inventory and stuff. But it was a much different situation, and but that was where, because I had to be at my booth most of the time, occasionally I had my wife watch it for 20 minutes while I met someone. I met Jodie Benson there because she had no line, and I basically just went up and just said hi. And I met D. Bradley Baker. He is a very versatile voice actor who's known for doing animal noises. But I know him best as the voice of Perry the Platypus.
Oh, okay.
And since I made a poster for Phineas and Ferb, I had him sign my Phineas and Ferb poster. But
sorry, go ahead.
Good. But also at that convention was Shamik Moore, who voices Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movies, which I had just Across the Spider-Verse had just come out, and I had a poster for it, and so I got him to sign mine. And I think a lot of people bought a Spider-Verse poster to get signed by him because he had recognized. He's like, "Oh, a lot of people have brought these to me." So that was a really cool one. My signed Spider-Verse poster.
Yeah,
one of my
sorry,
prized possessions.
Yeah, so I can't imagine how cool it is, because I have a Funko Pop signed by Stephen Amell, because Green Arrow is one of my favorite superheroes. But I can't imagine how cool it would be to be able to have someone sign something that you made. That just seems great.
Yeah.
And especially
and
your favorite movie, which is Luca, I imagine, because you make a lot of Luca content. You got, I believe you said you have 2 of the 3 main characters to sign that.
Yeah. So last year, Jack Dylan Grazer, who voices Alberto, he was going to be at a convention in Des Moines, which is about 3 hours from me, and then he canceled last minute. It was going to be like on my birthday. It was last year, and then he canceled. And then he was going to be at a convention in Columbus, Ohio, which is like 6 hours from me. But at that same convention was going to be Weird Al Yankovic, and he's like a childhood hero of mine. So my wife and I made plans to go to that, and I made a poster of Weird Al lyrics specifically. Like, I want to get Weird Al's autograph, but I don't know what to say to him. I would just get like so tongue-tied and starstruck. So I was like, at least if I make something for him to sign, I would have something to say to him. And that's literally the only reason why I made a Weird Al poster. But then he finally did come to Des Moines again this year. So that was last month that I got to meet him, and my wife took a video of that interaction, and he was so grateful and so kind, because that honestly went better than I expected, because I'd seen interviews with him, and I sort of just expected that to just be like just another job for him, because he is a full-time actor, and he has been for years. And I'd even seen interviews where he says that whole role was just kind of a blur, because he recorded all of his lines in his mom's closet during the pandemic, because the other voice role he did that year was Ron's Gone Wrong, which he like recorded all of that over the course of like a year, whereas he did Alberto like within 2 months, and he never met any of the other cast or the director in person until like 6 months after the movie came out.
Wow.
Because of the pandemic restrictions. And so anyway, so I just thought he didn't care a whole lot about the movie, but he was like, said he was getting chills when he was reading it, and he was just like so honored, and it's like, oh, I love this movie so much, and he was like reading back the lines, and anyway, I was just honestly just went better than I expected. I wasn't expecting him to be a jerk or anything, but like the fact that his reaction to this movie specifically, yeah, that was absolutely wonderful.
So
I wasn't a vendor at that convention. I didn't have a display ready. We went specifically just to meet him there.
Right. Is Luca the one you're missing?
Yeah. So then the other one that I got was so Emma Berman is the young woman who voices Julia. So she, unlike Alberto and Luca, she was not a famous actress at all. She had never done any professional acting work. She just got the role, I think she was like 12. And so, but she's very active on social media. And so, whenever I would make stuff about Luca, which in the early days of TikTok, I was making a lot of videos about Luca. And so she would see them and she would like comment on them. And eventually she followed me back on TikTok. And that was like, because Julia is my favorite character in that movie. So the fact that like the voice of Julia was following me was just an honor for me. But when I made my first Luca post, I've written out Luca 3 times now. Like my 4th poster ever was Luca, and then when I was working on that one, I watched the movie again in the Italian dub, and I was like, oh man, this sounds really cool. Now I want to do it in Italian. So I did. I redid the entire poster with the exact same design, but the words are in Italian. And then about a year later, I did it again because I had grown a lot as an artist, and I didn't like a lot of the choices I had made with my first design, so I did a different design. So anyway, when I did my first design and I put it on Instagram, Emma Berman commented it. She's like, Santa Mozzarella, this is amazing. And, so I DM'd her, and I said, hey, I would love to send you a print of this. And I said, I can send it to your agency or whatever works for you. And so she said, she gave me her agency's address. But then I put it off because I redesigned it. And so I eventually last year, because again, I just kept putting it off. A couple months ago, I made a fourth Luca poster where it was just a picture of Julia, and it was just Julia's lines. It wasn't the whole movie, it was just Julia's lines. So I made that, I printed it on canvas, and I shipped 2 prints of that to Emma's agency with a marker and a return postage label, and just kind of crossed my fingers that they would send it back, because I hadn't communicated that with her beforehand. And then I got that back in the mail 2 days before I met Jack Dylan Grazer. Wow. So within the same week, I had gotten both of them, and so she left a very nice note on the back of it. So it's right here in front of me on my desk, and so she's been very grateful and appreciative because she's continues to do voice acting work. She's been doing stuff for Disney Junior shows. There's Super Kitties and Young Jedi Adventures. Ever since Luca, she's consistently been doing voice acting for Disney. So, I've been very supportive of her work, and I think she's 17 now. So anyway, it's just cool that she recognizes me as a prominent member of the Luca fandom.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah,
I
have no idea how I'm ever going to get a hold of Jacob Tremblay. So.
I'm sure you just keep making videos. Your following is growing. Maybe they'll be at an event with each other and be like, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And I'm sure you'll get it at some point. I'm sure he'll be at a convention at some point.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, the person who inspired me to make content followed me at one point, and that sent me over the moon. I was like, I can't believe that. But
yeah,
when you write out the script, do you go on a website to get the script, or do you just watch the movie and just write it as they're saying it?
90% of the time I get the script off a website. There are several websites that have transcriptions. However, not all of them are accurate, so I'll get the transcript and then I'll watch the movie to make sure it's accurate.
That's smart.
Most of the time, the transcripts are just the subtitles.
Yeah.
And a lot of times subtitles paraphrase things, or something will be incorrect, or they'll leave a word out, or or the most frustrating things, it'll just say speaks Spanish. And I made it a goal ever since, because Encanto was that second poster, that whatever they say, if they speak a different language, whatever they say, I will write it out in that language. Even if there are English subtitles on the screen, I'm going to say it in that language. And having that policy has kind of, I feel like, come to haunt me, because I've been very, very consistent with that. And so I think I'm at 30 languages at this point that I've had to find some kind of consultant or someone who could help me transcribe what someone is saying, because it seems like nearly every poster there's at least one line that's in some other language, because obviously there's a ton of Italian in Luca, and then one of my most recent ones was the new Superman movie, and there's a fictional country, Moravia, and they speak Moravian, but luckily they actually are just speaking Croatian, and not a fake language. If it's a fake language, they're just speaking just straight up Croatian. If it's a fake language, I'm kind of out of luck, because unless it's something established like Klingon, there's not usually a writing system for them. But when I did my first anime movie, I did Howl's Moving Castle from Studio Ghibli, and that one's entirely in Japanese, because I said if I ever do an international film, I'm going to do it in the language that it was written in. And so I said I would only do it if I can find a verifiable source, because I have no way of proofreading it. And
so did you write it all in like the Japanese characters and everything?
I did, yeah.
Wow.
That one was obviously pretty difficult, but I got that one done. So I was only able to do that because Studio Ghibli itself actually sells copies of the screenplay with both the English and the Japanese. So I was able, I could verify that was accurate.
That's pretty cool. So, how do you come up with what you're going to make? Like what post you're going to work on next?
It could be a combination of what I feel like or what I think might sell, or if I'm just commissioned to do something. So, I just finished K-pop Demon Hunters, just because that's a very popular movie right now. And I just finished a convention because I went to that convention with Jacko and Grazer last month, but I just this past weekend was a vendor at a convention in St. Louis, and a couple of the voice actors for that movie were there. So I had that one there to sell. And Weird Al was there too, so I'm glad I already had a Weird Al poster that I could sell. It's like that and the Superman one. So a lot of people are like, oh, are these just all movies that you really enjoy? I'm like, no, not necessarily. Just it's just if I think that they'll do well. There are several posters for movies that I just straight up just don't like, but did because I thought they would make money. I don't want to say which ones because probably people will come after me, but there are a good number of ones that are for relatively popular films I just didn't like, but I didn't. It's not like it was torturous or anything.
Right.
I guess one example of one that I wouldn't have done otherwise was everyone kept telling me to do the Eras Tour film for the Taylor Swift one, which I hadn't even heard of. I knew Taylor Swift was on some tour, but I didn't know that they had a film version of her concert. Oh, yeah. It's everyone was commenting everyone do the Eras Tour film, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And Black Friday was coming up, I'm like, okay, I guess the really small dedicated fan base of Taylor Swift fans would probably maybe like this. And then that poster I sold several hundred prints of within 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Taylor Swift poster single-handedly paid for my trip to Italy.
Nice.
So I completely underestimated.
So that's a fun thing to tangent off into. So I'm assuming you went to Italy because you are a fan of Italy. Did the fandom of Italy become before Luca or after Luca? Was your fandom of Italy because of Luca, or the fandom of Luca is because of Italy?
It was. I would say, the fandom of Italy was because of Luca, but a lot of my fandom of Luca was because of my mild fandom of Italy, because I am part Italian.
Okay.
I'm a quarter Italian, but I never really had a deep connection to that part of my heritage, and so that was, I think, part of the reason why I felt so connected to the film. That's the thing. Whenever people ask me what I love so much about the film, and I'm like, I don't have a good reason. I don't connect to these characters in a personal way, the way that a lot of people in the Luca fandom do. It's not I have a personal experience that connects to it. It's just this nice, cozy film that always puts me in a good mood, and I really enjoy the setting. And so, the region that it's from is Cinque Terre, Italy, and it's this small region of 5 villages off the coast of Italy. And so where Luca is set is Porto Rosso, which is a fictional town. Is actually a reference to a Studio Ghibli film called Porco Rosso, which is set in Italy. And Studio Ghibli was a huge inspiration of the director Enrico Casarosa. So a lot of people will say it's Pixar's first Ghibli film, and that was because Hayao Miyazaki, who was the sort of the head of Studio Ghibli. He was a big inspiration of the director, and so the sort of warm, cozy feeling of Luca and its setting was very much taken from those Japanese films. So anyway, so Porto Rosso is a fictionalized version of Cinque Terre, and so we went there in January of last year, simply because my wife was pregnant with our first kid, and I was like, if we're going to go to Italy, we need to do it before the baby comes. And also, we never really had a proper honeymoon. So we took advantage of it. And we really wanted to go on our 5th anniversary, but my wife was in her first trimester at that point, so like it wasn't safe to fly. So we ended up going in January. And just because of flight schedules and stuff, and we took a cruise and stuff, we only got to spend like one afternoon in Cinque Terre. We went to other places in Italy and France and other places, but yeah, it was just spectacular, and Luca really did a fantastic job at capturing the beauty of that region. Because I know the filmmakers flew out there and they like took imprints of the walls, and they scuba dived the water on the coast to see what it looked like underwater in that region. Like they did a ton of homework to make sure that it looked accurate to what it looked like there. And that's close to where the director grew up. He grew up in Genoa, which is just north of there. But yeah, it was just a beautiful area that was so much of what was part of the fabric and the identity of that film. And I'm so glad I got to see it in person, but like I just really wish that I got to spend more time there. I keep telling my wife, I'm like, someday we need to go on another trip and just spend another week there. Just, we were so bogged down on some of the other destinations that we had in Italy, and like I just want to go and just chill out and just spend a week in Cinque Terre. So yeah, but like I've started learning the Italian language because of it. It's like just all of that has just been because of this one film, and I'm still very excited that the next film this director's doing is another film set in Italy. This film Gatto that comes out in 2027. That's set in Venice. Because I've always said that Luca does not need a sequel. I think it very purposefully was left beautifully open-ended and completed the story. And so my ideal continuation would be another film that is has the same kind of feeling, but doesn't continue the story and has new characters to fall in love with. So that's why I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. I would love to go to Italy. Italy is definitely on the list of places I want to go. I think you said that because you have Italian heritage, it connected a little more. I'm almost 100% Polish, so I was just imagining.
Oh yeah, I'm quarter Polish as well.
What the heck a Polish Pixar movie would even be about? Just some dude eating pierogies or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you'd be surprised. I feel like there's so many, because there's so many regions in Western Europe in particular that are often romanticized, like Italy or France, that I feel like some of those places, like Poland, like there's got to be beauty in other regions that just there hasn't been the right kind of film to depict it yet. And I'm sure there's got to be a Polish filmmaker that, if the right film came along that like really depicted it right, might shine the light on it. And I'm sure there's got to be an entire industry of Polish cinema that we just are not aware of.
Right.
But yeah, because you and me both. I'm also a quarter Polish. From like I couldn't even tell you the first thing about what's unique or special about Poland. So it'd be interesting to see like something. I
find it really odd because I've met other people who are almost 100% Polish, and they start talking about like their heritage and whatnot, and I'm like, Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm this much Polish, and my family just dropped all tradition, so I know nothing about my heritage.
Well, that's the same. I know the reason my family did, because my grandfather escaped Poland, and
Mm,
when he came to America, refused to speak of his past life.
mm,
My family wasn't even completely sure when he was born until uh, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, like or the city he was born in. For a long time, we thought he was Russian, but it turns out the city that he was born in used to be, or I think is now currently Russia, but was Poland at the time.
mm.
Uh, so yeah, that's I think a common thing for a lot of Polish immigrants is just to not talk about their previous life. I can't imagine what early 20th century Polish people were going through that they wouldn't want to bring up.
So let's talk some Disney movies. So obviously Luca's your favorite Pixar movie. What's your favorite Disney movie?
Right. I can firmly say, having now made my top 30 list, that it's Encanto.
Wonderful choice.
Yes, because you collaborated with that video for me. I originally put that in my top 10. I only moved it down because the things in my top 10 relate to me personally, whereas I don't actually personally relate to a lot of the characters in Encanto, but obviously a lot of people do. And so you mentioned in the comments of that video that you said there's an argument to be made that it could be considered Disney's best film.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your argument on that?
So I'm not the best at describing my thoughts, but like I said in that video, that the movie the story is just one of the best stories out, like just told start to finish. Everything about it makes sense. Maybe not Bruno living in the walls, probably doesn't make too much sense, but all the characters are just, I think, perfectly done. I think Abuela that's what she goes by in that, right?
Right. Abuela Alma is her, but
yeah,
she's never actually called by her name in the movie. But Abuela.
She is a perfect villain, because she's not a villain, but she is a villain. The idea of family trauma being the conflict and breaking generational trauma. I guess, Mirabelle isn't raising a kid, but she's protecting Antonio in a sense, I guess. The music is just incredible. Lin-Manuel Miranda just crushed it. The dude's a genius. With you being a fan of musicals, I'm sure you appreciate him.
Yeah. Yeah, and Encanto was so interesting. Like, that was off my radar, anyone else's radar. I think I saw the teaser trailer for that, but like I wasn't completely aware of what the film was even about. And let's see, because that came out at the end of 21, and I remember the only reason we didn't see it in theaters was because I think Spider-Man No Way Home came out like 2 weeks later, and we're like, we need to save our money for that. And then we were gonna like see it for Christmas, but we're like, oh, they're just putting it on Disney Plus like the next week because of COVID. And because of that, that's when it like blew up into the massive sensation. But yeah, that was one where I was like, yeah, dang, the richness in the themes that they were getting at. It's also one of the few Disney films that is like wholly original. It's not based off of an existing fairy tale or legend or mythology. Because like Moana is original, but like Maui is a mythological character, and so it's completely rich with this Colombian Latin American culture, which I knew nothing about. But despite not knowing anything about that, I was still able to appreciate that. I didn't feel alienated at all by it. And it provided this rich, colorful world that was both mesmerizing, to adults as well as for kids. Yeah, the music is just incredible. I'm a huge fan of practically everything that Lin-Manuel Miranda has done. And I believe I read that, because he has worked with Disney for a few, because he did Moana, and when he heard that they were making a film set in Latin America, he's like, I'm there. It's like he basically forced himself into it, because he himself is Puerto Rican, and he's like, I don't care if you were thinking of someone else, I'm going to be part of this. And I think he has a story credit on the film, because originally Bruno's name was going to be Oscar, and he was the one who asked if they could change his name to Bruno, specifically so that they could, in the song, go Bruno, no, no.
Yeah, we don't talk about Oscar, doesn't sound as good.
Right. But yeah, Dos Oreguitas is the first song he ever wrote that was entirely in Spanish. And he talked about how special that was to him, that because a lot of his earlier work, In the Heights was the first musical that he wrote that was ever performed, and that is very, very Latin American heavy, and has a lot of Spanish and Spanglish and all that, but he's never written a song that was entirely in Spanish, and so that's what Dos Oreguitas was. And I still can't get through that scene without crying. I don't even know what the words, I guess I know what the words are, but you don't really hear what the words are, but you get the meaning of that song just through the melody. And yeah, just the way that everything comes together, and the whole generational trauma thing is something that not every single person is going to relate to, having a family that is overbearing or whatever, but you can relate to Isabella always having an expectation of being perfect, or Luisa having being under pressure. Those are attributes of those characters that I relate to. And I just wonder, because that's not really, I haven't consumed that film around or with children that much. I really wonder how kids internalize that film at all. Well,
I'll tell you, my son doesn't care about it one bit.
Oh, I bet not. Yeah, that's the thing, is I have to remember, a lot of these the 21st century Disney films are so much more deep and thematic than a lot of earlier Disney films, that I can't imagine how a lot of younger kids actually process or internalize them.
Yeah, whereas I, as an adult,
exactly, yeah. And there's so much more depth to Cars that he probably doesn't realize.
Oh yeah. He just likes Lightning McQueen.
Yeah.
But yeah,
even when I did that series, go ahead.
No, you're fine. My thing's gonna tangent off into something else, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I did that series, explaining the ending or the deeper meaning behind every Pixar film, people were some people even got mad at me, why are you ruining my childhood? It's not actually that deep. I'm like, no, it is that deep, actually. You can still enjoy the film without knowing these deeper meanings, but those deeper meanings were there. If the filmmakers wanted them to be super baseline, they wouldn't be as beloved by adults and children.
Right. But going back to Encanto, another thing that I'm a huge fan of world building. I love getting immersed into a world, and for a movie that almost entirely takes place in a house, it does a fantastic job of world building.
Oh yeah.
So that's just that is in my top 5. I don't necessarily have an order for my top 5, but it's in there with Moana, Princess and the Frog, Lilo and Stitch, and Lion King. Those are my top 5. I don't know which one's number 1, but it's one of them.
Yeah, I would say Lilo and Stitch is up there. When I made my top 30 list, I specifically limited myself to 3 per studio. So I had Encanto, Aladdin, and originally I had Beauty and the Beast on there, but then I also had Enchanted, which I realize is not Disney Animation Studios.
Right.
But I was in the musical Beauty and the Beast in high school. So that was one that I've also really enjoyed.
Yep. What is your favorite Disney character?
Probably Genie. My
That's fair.
theater group, the theater group that I did all of my stuff as a youth, we every year, not every year, but when I was in high school, we started doing this fundraiser in the spring, where we basically had a lot of our cast members dress up as Disney characters, and this is in Missouri, so we're not near any of the parks, but we dress up as Disney characters and perform Disney songs, and we do like meet and greets as if it was a Disney park. And I think the first year that I participated, I was Flynn Rider. Like, I didn't get to choose, but when it was my senior year, I told them, I'm like, I'm going to be playing Genie. Like, that's not negotiable. Like, Friend Like Me has been like my go-to like audition song for a long time, and so yeah, like if I really like thought about it and I wanted to like analyze it like from a deeper level, I might have a different answer, but just like first thought, that's just the first thought that came to my head.
Yep.
Because he was always someone that I wanted to play or dress as, or I love his songs, and yeah,
that's fair. What's your favorite Disney song?
I mean, the first thing that came to my head was Friend Like Me.
Okay.
But, ooh, let's see. I'm trying to cycle through some of them.
Go the Distance is mine.
Yeah, Go the Distance is really good. Make a Man Out of You.
Great
Sticks
song.
Out. Be Our Guest.
Great song.
Yeah, Be Our Guest was a really fun one to perform, especially in the live show, because it's like it has like 2 extra verses in the Broadway show.
Evermore
Actually, the
from
Bob song is also really fun to perform.
Evermore from the live action Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorites too. Love that song.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I have I want to say Friend Like Me because that's one that like I have been trained to sing by voice coaches, and
Makes
it's
sense.
always been my go-to. Yeah, I just didn't want to immediately say that since I just gushed over Genie.
So what would you say is the most underrated Disney or Pixar movie?
Well, I made a video recently about what I think are the most underrated Pixar films, and I said that how I define underrated is the one that has the biggest gap between how people generally perceive it and its actual quality. And by going off of that, I think the most underrated Pixar film is Elemental.
Oh yeah. I do not understand why people don't like that movie.
Yeah, it's like it just gets a lot of unnecessary hate, and a lot of it I think is since the pandemic, really, there's been a huge influx of people like you and me and thousands of other people who have these online platforms talking about film, and so people are a lot more critical and analytical than they probably ordinarily would have been. And it came out 2 weeks after Across the Spider-Verse, which basically the entire film community just gushed over. So the fact that it was just another animated film, people were just kind of cold on it, and like I don't know, like some of the criticisms I kind of get, like yeah, it uses some rom-com tropes, but still, the world building in that one is just gorgeous, and um, that's another one where just a lot of the deeper themes and how it relates to um, both class and like race and culture. It sort of tackles a lot of the same things that Zootopia does, but I would say they take it from a different angle. Um, and but that was one that I just thought got a lot of unnecessary hate, and because it had there seems to be this notion online lately where if something doesn't do spectacular at the box office, people just immediately think it's bad.
Yep.
Literally at the convention last week, I told someone asked me what the next poster I'm working on. I said, well, I'm currently getting the transcript for Elio, and they're like, Elio, was that even any good? And I was like, yeah. They're like, well, didn't it not make a lot of money? I was like, no, that doesn't mean it wasn't good. Like, the fact that that was her first mindset was, oh, I heard it didn't make a lot of money, therefore it's bad. Like,
people saying
also Elemental
Superman
actually
wasn't.
did right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Elemental made almost as much money as Superman did, actually. At the end of the day, it just had a pretty weak opening. But again, why are we focusing so much on box office receipts? Because there are a lot of classic films that, like Pinocchio, bombed the box office, for example. A lot of early Disney films either didn't make back their budget when they first opened, or just had a very weak opening. So, especially a lot of the early ones in the 2000s. So, but yeah, in terms of the discourse online for Pixar specifically, I always say the top three are Elemental, Cars 2, and Brave. I think get a lot of unnecessary criticism for what they actually are.
That's fair.
In terms of Disney, though, see, a rant that my brother and I have a lot is that there's this meme that goes around all the time where they say this is the most underrated Disney film, and almost always it is Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, or Treasure Planet. It's almost always one of those three.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm like,
the problem with that is that it's our generation grew up with those, so we love them.
yeah,
Every
I'm
other
like,
generation
who's saying
didn't
these
care
are
about
underrated? Like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm like looking around the room, like, are there people who say these are bad films? Because like, I don't know of anyone who actually said these are, who doesn't like these or doesn't talk about them enough. It's just like, okay, historically, if we look back at the box office, sure, but like, I don't look back at the box office of 30-year-old films to determine if a film is good.
Right.
So, I don't know. I would say The Rescuers Down Under is one that was another one. When my son was born and I was on paternity leave, my wife and I decided to watch through every Disney animated film, and so there were a lot of older ones, like from the Dark Era and the Silver Age, that I hadn't seen. And some of which I'm like, well, I understand why I haven't seen that one. But some of them, like, I wouldn't say Oliver and Company is great, but I'm like, that wasn't as terrible as I thought it might have been. The Rescuers Down Under was one that I did watch as a kid, but I forgot how good it actually was. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't put it at the same level as the other Renaissance films, but I think maybe it deserves a bit more attention.
Yeah, I would think that 99 out of 100 people, if you tell them to name Renaissance films, then they will forget that one. That is a very forgettable movie in a lot of people's minds, I would guess. But
yeah, and I also really liked Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
Was another one from that era when I was a kid that, like, I remember seeing that in theaters, but like I probably hadn't seen it in 20 years when I rewatched it last year. And I was like, yeah, that was really good. That had a really good message. That was a lot of fun.
Man, I disliked the early 3D animation of Disney Animation Studios.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
that,
It
Dinosaur,
really didn't kick into gear until, Dinosaur
Tangled.
Chicken Little.
Tangled was
Yeah.
probably when they finally got it under control.
Well, wasn't that the first one after Lester took over?
I don't know.
Because
That would make sense.
2007 was when the acquisition of Pixar happened, and Lester became the CEO or the CTO.
Yeah, so I think it's 2010 because I think Princess and the Frog was 2009. So
Yeah, Princess and the Frog was the first feature that he oversaw. So, yeah, might have been.
the more you know. I'm curious to see what you would say is the most overrated movie.
Overrated. I haven't thought about this. I don't. This isn't Disney Animation Studios, but I think that Nightmare Before Christmas is insanely overrated.
I am with you there.
I rewatched it last year, not last year, like 2 years ago. That was the first time I'd seen it since like I was a teenager. And I remember when I finished it and just like Santa Claus escaped, and then that was it. I was like, that was it. That was it. There was no consequences, and like that was the whole plot. And I was just. I remember I wrote on Letterboxd, the movie website where you can write reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, my whole review was all vibes, no plot. And that's what I'm like. People like this movie because of the aesthetic and because of the music. No one actually likes this movie because of the plot. So, I did make a poster for it because it is so popular and it's so merchandisable. But yeah, it's like that's just one that like has no substance for how popular it is and how much people enjoy it and talk about it. Why wouldn't you say people talk about it? They just buy the merchandise for it.
Right.
And that's just one that I just think is so funny. The history of it is that it was released by Touchstone Pictures, which was, Disney's way of releasing a thing that they didn't want associated with Disney's name, and then it made a lot of money. And Disney was like, "Who are we kidding? We totally made this movie, guys."
Yeah.
And also, Tim Burton also totally made it, even though he didn't direct it.
So
He
two
was
more
just a producer on
questions.
it.
Two more
Yeah, go
questions on movies. What type of story would you like to see Pixar make, and who is someone you would want to see voice a character in a Pixar movie?
Well, one thing that has to be commended about Pixar is like they have this list of like rules of things that their films should or should not do in terms of the stories that they tell. And I don't like know what the rules are specifically, but like one thing observations that I've made is like they've never made a film based off of an existing work. The only kind of exception is A Bug's Life is supposedly based off the Aesop fable, The Ant and the Grasshopper, but it's like super loose. And so, anyway, where I was getting with this is like I wouldn't want them to, because my first thought was I'd like to see them do something like more historical, but I don't know that I would want them to adapt a historical event per se, but maybe something that was more of a period piece might be interesting. Like The Incredibles, for example, is set in the 60s, and there's no real reason for it to be set in the 60s other than it's cool.
Right.
And so, one story, I guess this sort of answers your question. my brother pitched an idea for a film. He said instead of Incredibles 3, what they should do is they should make a prequel to Incredibles about Helen and Bob meeting. And it would be like You've Got Mail, where they don't know that they're superheroes.
They
So
don't know
they
that each
meet
other are
each other.
superheroes?
They don't know that the other person is a superhero.
That's cool.
But they meet and they date as each other. And so it's this whole thing. And that would be set in the 40s. So that would be an interesting thing. And I was like, that is a genius thing. And yeah, you're completely right. Why are we continuing the story? Why don't we just explore more of that? Too late on that, though. Brad Bird's out of there. So, but yeah, I think that more things that a lot more period pieces like that are they were taking a lot more risks pre-Disney in the early 2000s like that, and I'd like to see some more of that. And I'm not even talking specifically Pixar. I'd love to see something from Disney, because like Encanto is set in the 50s, for example, and that briefly touches on the I think the 100 Days of War in Colombia, and that's a brief part of the plot. So I'd love to see something that, not an entire movie about that, but like something that's like Mulan, right, where it's a fictional story, but it's like a part of this very real historical event.
Yeah.
And then you said a voice actor,
or just an actor. I mean, they would have to voice the character, so I guess they would be a voice actor. But
I'm just trying to think of what, because like a lot of my favorite actors are voice actors. I guess Weird Al hasn't been in a Disney film yet, has he? He's been in a lot of Disney shows. Because he was in Milo Murphy's Law. So he's no stranger to Disney by any means. I don't think he's been in a feature film. I don't know what would be appropriate, but yeah, I mean, he'd be more than willing to do that. He's at a stage in his career. He released his last album a decade ago, and so he said in an interview recently that he said, I feel as if my mission is complete, or I've won the game, and now I'm just completing side quests for the rest of his life. And so I feel like that would be an interesting side quest for him, is to do some kind of movie. And with his, he's very good friends with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I think that would be a good in for him, is if they work together on a film.
Yeah, that could be interesting. So one question that I ask everybody on here that I wasn't going to ask you, because I didn't think you were going to answer yes to the question, are you a Disney adult? But since you did, what does being a Disney adult mean to you?
I see being a Disney adult as the same as being a nerd in general, which is being like unabashedly, unashamedly passionate about something. And part of what goes with that is the understanding that this thing, so in this case that, you know, these movies and these franchises brings you joy, and you shouldn't care what other people think of that. So being a Disney adult really means accepting the fact that this is the sort of thing that brings you joy, and you're not ashamed of that. And part of that, I think, also is knowing the adult part of being a Disney adult is knowing that these stories and these franchises and products are not made exclusively for children, as is often a misconception. These are very much family films, and it's only a small percentage of the things that are created by Disney that are exclusively for children. Like Walt Disney himself said that, you know, the parents have to take the kids to the movie, and so that's why it's made for a broad audience. And so that's the thing, is like, so often whenever I'm like, if I'm critical about a movie, or something like so often I'll get like just snarky comments like, "Oh, this is a grown man complaining about this," or "Oh, it's just a kids' film, dude." I'm like, no, this is it's a family thing. It's much different. Like if I was complaining about a Disney Junior show, like this would be different. But if it's a theatrically released film, it's meant to be made for as equally enjoyed by adults as for kids. And so being a Disney adult is recognizing that, and then also recognizing that other people might not understand that, but you understand that, and you basically just own it.
That's amazing. I just love this question because everybody has a different answer, and it's always just the best answer anyone has ever made. It's just wonderful to hear everyone's different perspective of what being a Disney adult means to them. So let's talk about what you got going on in the future. You got any upcoming projects you want to tease or talk about?
Not any like huge ones. I mean, I maybe like I may be doing some conventions in the future. Nothing's set in stone, and then I am always going to be working on new posters. But I don't have anything like specifically set. I mean, I just finished up. Well, I'm almost done with my series breaking down the deeper meaning of the endings of every Pixar film on TikTok, and that's also on Instagram and my YouTube Shorts. The same username for everything else. So that's starting. I only intended to make like 5 or 6 videos for that project, and then people kept requesting other films, and that sort of, and then those videos got a lot of views, and so that ended up being me breaking down every Pixar film. The only one I have left to do to finish out all of Pixar is Toy Story 3. So I'm almost done with that, and then I'm going to move on to Disney films because I've done a couple already. So I guess you can look forward to that. But I'm always doing sort of analyses and things like that. So
awesome.
You can just look forward to, like, at this point my content is like 90% analysis of films, most of which is Disney or Pixar, and then like 10% is my artwork, because that's what gets the views, and I'm okay with that. So
that's cool. What is your ultimate goal you want to see come from your content creation?
When they announced Gato a couple months ago, I said that I want to make it a goal that I will become a big enough content creator that Pixar will invite me to the premiere of Gato in 2027.
That'd be awesome.
Which will probably happen in Italy.
Oh wow!
So
that would be incredible.
Had this goal in mind, and I'm trying to slowly work towards it. So like, I just put up a video this week about Gato, and I'm like, okay, so when Hoppers comes out, I need to like make videos praising Hoppers, and then I have to like trying to like get connections and stuff. And so I'm like, maybe I can get Emma Berman to like talk to someone at Pixar, like trying to figure out what I can do to get there. But like that's my ultimate goal there, because when I created a out of the theater reaction review of Elio, when I posted that, the official Pixar Instagram account DM'd me and asked if they could repost my review. And they just asked, can you confirm that you made this, and would it be okay if we posted this onto our account? And it just like blew my mind. And so it's like, that's step one. Like step two is going to be like Pixar pays me to make a review, and then it's just like going to keep going from there. So like I need to work towards this. So I have like 18 months to get there. But yes, that is ultimately my goal, because
I am rooting for you.
Yeah, because if I could ever meet the Enrico Casarosa, the director of Luca, there's just so many things I'd want to say to him, and just what I appreciate about him specifically. Because whenever people tell me people hate on um, Disney because of either some of the corporate practices, or they say that Pixar is creatively bankrupt or stuff like that, or like why are you defending this corporation or things like that. I'm like, I'm not defending the company. I'm defending the creative individuals who are still putting their heart and soul into these projects, and like those are the people that I am praising and whose work I am promoting. Um, and so like that's why I always try to learn about the people who make these things, because I make a very specific point to always to separate Pixar from Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like it's a different leadership, and obviously there's a lot of things that Disney mandates, but they operate differently from Disney Animation Studios. So anyway, all this is to say that like I know that a lot of what makes Luca special is not because of Pixar, it's not because of Disney, it's because of that specific director and a lot of the decisions that he made that are different from any other Pixar director. And so like if I ever got to meet him or meet the other people who create the other films that he's working on, yeah, that's just like the dream of mine. So bit by bit I'm trying to see what I can do. I have 2 more films to try to get Pixar's attention before that happens.
Yeah. So, say you do get invited, you taking a Luca poster with you to get him to sign it?
I hope so. The only reason I haven't sent him one yet is because I have no idea where I would send it.
Right.
He doesn't have like an agent. He doesn't have like a specific mailing address. I could send it to Pixar Studios, but like I don't know if he has like a box or something. So he has seen the first one and he saw the Italian one because he used to be super active on Twitter and now he's not so much anymore. So I know he has seen it, but he doesn't have his own yet.
Yeah, that's cool. I interviewed someone who is a big fan of Haunted Mansion, and he makes Haunted Mansion. He makes videos about the Haunted Mansion lore. He has a podcast where he acts out the Haunted Mansion lore, and because of all that, he got invited to the Haunted Mansion premiere.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah. So in our interview, he talked about that experience because that also happened with the strike and everything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I don't remember if he was contractually obligated to do it or if he just decided to do it, but he got a lot of hate for doing it during the strike. But that was
if he's not part of the guild, they probably invited him because they couldn't get any of the actual actors to be there. So, but if he's not part of the guild, he technically wasn't breaking anything. But that was all a mess because people were like, oh, if you're a content creator, then you're basically a guild member. Like, but he's not. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Especially for the films that were already finished. That film was already finished when the strikes were happening. So, like, he's not. I understand if you're protesting stuff that's still in production, but like the stuff that they're protesting doesn't affect the films that are being premiered right now.
Yeah, but I am rooting for you to make it to that. That would be incredible. I hope that works out for you.
Yeah, me too. So here's hoping.
Yeah. So in the meantime, where can everybody find you on social media? Remind everyone of your handle and what platforms you're on.
My handle is HowViewBen, so that's HowVeyoUben, and that is on TikTok and Instagram, as well as YouTube. I haven't made a lot of long form content, but I am trying to break into that. But most of what I do is on TikTok and just cross post to Instagram and YouTube as well. And Instagram is also where I post a lot of my posters as well, but stills of my posters. And then that's also where you can follow for updates if I do any live shows or live conventions. So that's where you can find me. And then if you're interested in purchasing any of my work, my business name is Cinematic Scribbles. And so cinematicscribbles.com takes you to my online store where you can find any of my posters.
Amazing. Yeah, so if you want to hear more about what he has to say about movies, go give him a follow. If you want to support his art, go ahead, go buy some art. It's some pretty cool stuff. I went on there and saw that you didn't have any Ratatouille stuff, so I was pretty bummed about that.
Yeah,
Maybe
working
in the
on it. I
future.
mean, I've done, Pixar-wise, I've done Wall-E, Up, Luca, obviously. Yeah, I know. I myself am surprised with how little Pixar I've done. For Disney, I've done Emperor's New Groove, Encanto. Beauty and the Beast has been high on my list for a long time, as has Aladdin. I just had my convention where I had everything laid out. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised. Because I'm going to be working on Elio in the near future, whenever I can prioritize it. But I also have a poster. This is a very rare thing, but I have a poster that I call the Disney Doodads. And it's something that I designed with my brother, and it's just a poster that contains, I think it's like 70 different objects from Disney films, and it's just like squares.
That's cool.
It represents, it has an object that represents like 70 different, so it's not every Disney film, but it's most of the animation studios, as well as some others like Mary Poppins and Enchanted and some others. So it's like, you know, the Enchanted Mickey hat, or the Genie lamp, the Enchanted Rose, the Poison Apple, like that sort of thing. And so, when I started my Etsy store, that was like one of the first things we did, because that was back when I had that blank wall behind my TV. That was one thing that my brother and I designed to put back there. So that's also my Etsy store. For some reason, no video I've ever made about that poster has ever taken off, but that's another Disney-related thing that I've made, and that is nothing like any of the other artwork I've ever made. And my brother did all the art for that. But yeah, so that's there too.
So go ahead, follow him, check out his site. Won't be sorry. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the episode today. It was a great chat.
Yeah, likewise.
And
I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and that's all she wrote.
Sounds good.